In 1959, Aston Martin's DBR1 achieved what many believed impossible: victory at Le Mans. It was the crowning moment of British motorsport, sealing the DBR1 as one of the most beautiful and successful endurance racers ever built. If you love historic motorsport, building and restoring classics, and the guys in sheds who keep legends alive, hit like, subscribe, and join us on 7 Spot, where the story is always about the car. The DBR1's lines inspired generations, but in the 2000s, Stuart Mills, founder of Mills Extreme Vehicles, asked a question: could a home builder recreate that magic in their own garage? The answer was the Replicar, a lightweight fiberglass-bodied sports car mounted on a Mazda MX-5 donor. Affordable, practical, yet dripping with classic Le Mans spirit. After Mills, the project passed through ANC Sports Cars under Andy Carwithan, and then the rights were sold to Rob Hancock at Quantum Sports Cars. A lineage that connects builders across decades.
Welcome again to the 7 Spot live chat area here at the Newark Kit Car Festival 2023. And wandering around the show, I have come across somebody who a lot of you will know, and hopefully a lot of you out there are probably driving one of his designs. And that is Stuart Mills of MEV. Stuart, welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
What I thought we would do is, because it's interesting, before we were on camera, you said, oh, there's a few others that I've forgotten about, cars that you've done. But try and run through your back catalogue of cars.
Well, I think there was about 25 in total.
Okay, well, we can try and...
Yeah, it'd be difficult to run through the whole lot, because I can't even remember them all, if I'm honest, I think.
I saw you chatting with Rob from Quantum, because he's now got it. He's the Replica.
The Replica, he calls it the LMP or something.
LMR 141, I think.
Oh, well done, thank you. Yeah, that's a great car. Beautiful body. That was based on the style of the Aston Martin DBR1 that Sterling Moss drove to victory in many races back in 1950s or something. Always loved that car. You can't buy one there, millions of pounds. So I basically used the MX-5 running gear and a modified Mevster chassis to create a pattern that fitted. Of course, it's slightly difficult because in the original straight 6 car, the engine was planted much further back with the transaxle behind. In the MX-5 version, the forepots shoved much further forward.
You've got to get the gearbox in as well.
Yeah. You got to create that package, so that made the nose slightly more bulbous. But nevertheless, it's a great looking car, and I'm pleased to see it's still selling well with it.
It is. He took it over with orders. What do you think of these little tweaks that he's done to the body?
I think it's good. I think he's tweaked it enough to keep the originality, but by making it narrower, it looks longer when actually it's shorter. A very clever trick on the eye, that.
But what is it that makes a man want to build a historic racer? A replica. For Colin Haycock, it began with a desire to create a car of his own. He sourced a full ANC kit, then hunted down the right MX-5 donor. 4 years of meticulous work followed, and even a full engine rebuild along the way.
Today we're going to be mainly talking about LMR 141. And we've got Colin with us, who's kindly agreed to come and join us and talk about your LMR.
Hi.
Morning, Colin. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. So, tell us about your LMR. Your LMR 141.
Where would you like me to start from? Why I did it?
Yeah. Why did you pick an LMR?
So
yours is one of the original replicas, though.
Replica, yeah. When it was owned by Andy Carwithan at ANC, who bought it off MEV. I've always wanted to do a kit car, and I've always messed with cars. And then pandemic, everyone had to rethink about what they wanted to do. And I just made the decision that's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to build something I like the look of. And I love the Cobras, 7s. Everyone's building a 7, and then
you tried a 7 though, didn't you? But
I have tried a 7. I tried a 7.
You're another one that's got big feet.
I've got big feet. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it was a bit of a tight squeeze, and yeah, every other kit was a 7. So I wanted to, and my interests have changed, I guess, over the years. I go to Goodwood a lot, and I love the revival and all that historic racing sort of scene. So something in that of that period was great. And when I saw the replica as it was, it just really gelled with me as to the sort of kit car I wanted. From my point of view, I can't weld, so from that point of view, it was great because I didn't need to do any welding. It was a complete set of parts that I needed, and everything else that came off the MX-5 as the donor, and they were relatively cheap at the, they're still relatively cheap, but I think at that point they were even cheaper as a donor car. So and I didn't have a massive budget to go, GT40 or Cobra or something like that. So it really fitted with what I wanted to do. And I had a chat with Mike from Roadrunner Racing, who was he'd built a couple, and he met me at Revival once, Mike Longthorne, and he showed me around his car, and I really liked it. And also I had another guy local to me just down the road in Hampshire who was building one as well. I had a chat with him and saw his kit, and nothing that they said put me off, or and all just I can do that. What's required is within my skill set. Yes, I'm probably going to have to stretch some of my skills and learn some new ones, but that was part of the appeal for me, was learning new things and trying different things.
You felt confident that you could take it on.
And I thought I was confident I could do it. Yes, I knew I was going to have to go further than I'd ever gone before in terms of making bits and pieces, but I thought I can learn that. I'm not, I'm fairly good with my hands, so why not? Let's give it a go.
Yeah, brilliant.
And the kit of parts that you get was, it had everything in it that you needed that didn't come from the MX-5. So I didn't have to go and find obscure bits and pieces really to make it work and get it on the road.
Yeah, brilliant. And you've got what MX-5 did you go for? Because
I went for so I went for the NB, so the Mark 2.5 it was with a 1.8 5 speed 1.8 VVT.
Yeah,
which had its not issues, but it had the VVT engine is just slightly taller than the original MX-5 engine, so it's getting the clearance with the bonnet was quite a struggle. But I think Rob's modified the bonnet slightly now, so it's not an issue. But it was that because when it was designed around the Mark 1. The Mark 2 came along, was very similar, but the VVT just added that extra height in the bonnet, and it's quite a low front bonnet line.
The LMR kind of just slide a little bit towards the front, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it was at one point. I searched around eBay and Facebook, and I found a car which was advertised as spares and repair, but was running, had an MOT, so I could drive it home.
Yeah, at least you could try it. At least you could try it
out. So I could drive it for a bit. I drove it for a week, make sure everything was working with it, and all of that sort of thing. So, and that's what I did. I paid 400 quid, I think, 450 quid for it. Yeah. So from my point of view, that was perfect.
Sold off some of the parts off it.
Yeah, I sold off a few bits and pieces. I've still got a few bits left in the garage that I need to get rid of.
So if anyone wants a few bits, give Colin a ring. Yeah,
that's right. And then basically started stripping it down. I think that was in that was 2019. No, 2020.
Yeah.
End of 2020, I started stripping that down.
Oh, so still relatively new, though. I thought you'd been at it for a while then.
No.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Took me 4 years. Took me 4 years.
That's good going.
Stripped it right down to the component parts.
Did you one thing? Did you have to refurbish much on the bits you were using? I mean, you obviously using the main engine gearbox
I did. I refurbished everything. So I don't know how much you know about the MX-5 construction, but basically the whole of the bodywork is bolted to two subframes.
Yeah,
so you can unbolt it and lift it off. Yeah, and you left the roller skate underneath. So I stripped all of that down, took all the bushes out, had everything shot blasted and powder coated locally. So that was all nice and shiny. New bushes all round. The engine I stripped down, had it checked, had the bores checked, put new rings, bearings, gaskets. So rebuilt the engine from scratch. Because for me, it was part of it. It was the process of doing it that I was interested in as much as driving the car. It was I'd rebuilt an engine in my teens, but I hadn't done one since. And so I thought, well, if I'm here, let's do it.
Yes.
So I refreshed all the the engine components as I needed, rebuilt that up. Everything that was from the MX-5 got cleaned up and repaired or just reconditioned as needed. I think I went through all the brakes, all the calipers, made sure they were all working. I had to replace a couple. Like I said, the engine, the gearbox didn't have much other than just cleaning it up, get rid of all the grime off it and that sort of thing. The diff, I didn't do much with, which I regret now.
Is that is that the limited slip diff on that?
Yes, it was a Fuji, the Fuji limited slip diff, which unfortunately the cones went last month.
Right.
So I had to find another diff, which I've just put in. So other than that, like I said, everything got cleaned up because all of the suspension and subframe was powder coated. That was all nice to put together. I cleaned up all the bolts and things like that with an ultrasonic cleaner, and then just started constructing. You basically build up your skate, and then you basically the chassis literally sits on top. You reuse all the bolts that came from the MX-5 to bolt it straight back in. No, actually, Andy actually provided new bolts because there's some slightly different fittings, but you bolt it all together, and then you've got a rolling chassis basically.
And then pop your body on afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I'll make it sound simple like pop.
I can't. I'm not sure how many times I lifted the body on and off the chassis, but yes. But then I deviated a little from sort of the design intent, if you like. So the original concept was that everything you needed that didn't come in the kit came from the MX-5. So the wiring loom you just literally reworked into the body, and you reused the gut.
A bit of shortening, but not much. I wouldn't think.
Yes and no. So you reused the cluster, and I had decided that I didn't want to go that route. A couple of reasons were that one of the main reasons was because it was a Mark 2.5, it then came with a Mazda key that was
the immobilizer
linked to the Mazda immobilizer and all of that sort of thing. And I thought, I don't want that. I don't want that issue in the future. So
they have the transponder thing in the key, and if you lose that key, there's no way the ECU will just not do anything. We've got a bike engine in a 7. And we've had to keep 2 steering locks, 2 ignition barrels.
God, no.
So we've got the Sierra one with the key, but to get the ECU to recognise the bike key, we've still got the original bike,
right?
The bike lock installed. So it's actually got 2 keys to start it, which is a good safety feature. But if you can get rid of the immobilizer, brilliant. Yes.
Stuff. So I decided that I was going to go aftermarket ECU that I could, because the Mazda MX-5 there's so much aftermarket stuff available. So I bought an ECU. The guy who made the ECU also made an engine loom for it, so that was all of the engine electronics sorted. So from that perspective, that was quite straightforward. It was literally plug and play. It came with a map for the engine, so that was all good. And I also decided I didn't really want the Mazda cluster. They did some clever things with the way it was mounted, so it looked like several separate dials, but you were obviously restricted to the layout as in the original Mazda thing. But also because I've gone aftermarket ECU, then I have the problem of how do I actually run a Mazda gauge dash unit, because it doesn't get any signals from it. Have to get all the signals from the aftermarket ECU. So I wanted some traditional dials, so that's the route I went. And then I also decided I
think you're probably right, because in a car that looks as classic as that, I mean, yeah, great. You can reuse the MX-5 binnacle, but I think if you go the new dials route, I don't know what dials you went with. You know, Smith's gauge, black or white, or white on black, or
yeah,
just
classic.
It just gives it that real class look. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong if you have gone the MX-5. That's
no, I mean, and there's some really clever. I mean, basically, what I think. Who was the guy? Stuart Mills, when he designed it.
Yeah.
Basically, you took the fascia off the clocks and you mounted it from behind with cutouts for all the bits.
Yes.
So it actually looked like separate dials. So it was, it worked.
Bit like they did on the Robin Hood with the Sierra dials. Yeah. Because you look at that. I didn't realise when I looked at them. It's only when I spoke to somebody and they said, "Well, actually, they're the Sierra ones." I said, they've done the same thing with aluminium plate, circles cut out.
Yeah.
Put it on. Yeah, and they look like separate dials. Yeah. Yeah. Great.
So I'd gone aftermarket ECU, aftermarket dials, and I wanted to have a period-looking dash. So separate instruments, toggle switches, that sort of thing. That was the look I was going for, and I'd picked up some switches at Bewley that I was going to use. And so I just designed my own dash around that set of features, keeping one eye on the IVA manual all the time, of course. And then because I obviously had the engine loom already, I then decided, well, I've got this massive loom that the MX-5 has got. I don't need
half of it.
Half of it even.
Yeah.
I just need lights, horn, ignition switch, possibly. That's it really. I don't need windscreen washers. I don't need a heater.
Heated seats. Yeah.
Heated seats. I'm not having any of that, so I don't need any of that. And so I basically, So basically, I took the MX-5 loom and just tore it apart down to individual wires and reused.
That is something you must have labelled before you took it out.
No, because I wasn't going to reuse. What I did, I drew out my own diagram for each of the circuits, and then I just used the wires that I needed from them. I just used it as the supplies, basically, more than anything. I basically bought new connectors for to join where I needed joins and things like that, and just built a loom up in the car to run all of the other bits and pieces.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, brilliant.
So that probably added 6, maybe 12 months worth of work, just because it's a lot of work, and you just got to do it methodically and carefully. And I just basically did it a circuit at a time. I mean, the indicators, I buzzed it out on the bench first to make sure I could make all of the bits of it work together. The indicators and the hazards, and the lights I needed on the dash. So I did that on the bench before I then sort of transferred that diagram into the car. But yeah, I just drew out each diagram, and I've still got that. So all of the diagrams of each of the different circuits that I needed, and it was there's various books about how to wire a car which were useful in terms of understanding how things, certain circuits have dependencies on others, like headlights. You shouldn't have the headlights come on without the side lights on, and that sort of thing. So you had to have some interaction between the two. But I found it logical, and so from that perspective, I understood it, and it was just a case of going through it bit by bit and building it up. And then once all the wires are in place, I could wrap them and tidy them up and make sure they were all secured correctly. So that added a bit of time, but you get through those, you get those milestones. And first one was probably getting it as a rolling chassis, and then the engine start, and then getting each of the circuits working. And I did the dash as a unit, so I could remove it, so it's got plugs in it. So
okay, you can just pull it straight.
I can unscrew it from the dash and pull it out as a separate piece, and all of the wiring on the back is secured in place. But it's just 3 or 4 plugs to connect it all back up again.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So yeah, I gave it as much thought as I could. As about, not just having worked on TVR on my own TVR, you become aware of things like, oh, I wish they'd put a plug there so I could just pull that apart and take something out, or
TVR, TVR.
yeah, how on earth am I going to get my hand in there to get to that nut? Well, that sort of thing was always fairly high in my mind when I was thinking about how I was going to put something together. It was how might I take it apart again if I ever needed to. That was kind of a constant thought to me. And it has helped an awful lot, because the dash has been out quite a few times to sort a few bits and pieces. And I've created access panels for certain parts of the car, because at some point I may need to reach something and I can't get to it at the moment, and that sort of thing. But it was
it's that thinking ahead. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then once the wiring was done, it was a case of getting the body mounted on the chassis.
It's that, I jokingly said that earlier. Just pop the body on, but it's you've got to take your time in doing that. Presumably lining it all up.
I did. I mean, probably during the wiring phase, I had the body on and off several times, because I needed to see where the body was going to be
for the wiring.
Wiring, and also, would I be able to run wires where I wanted to run wires and things like that? Would they get in the way? Would the body hide stuff? And so I had the body on and off a number of times. What I did was put one of those electric winches, lightweight electric winches up in the ceiling, so I could go up and down without having to call my wife out every 5 minutes. Can you just give me a hand? So the body had gone on and off quite a few times, and then it was a case of aligning it as best you can. It's never going to be perfect. The mold is, having spoken to Rob, the mold isn't symmetrical left to right, so the body isn't symmetrical left to right. So it was finding that, I was most concerned about where the body was relative to the wheels, so that it looked right side to side and that sort of thing. And then there was also the concern about the VVT unit on top of the engine, and making sure I had clearance for that. So it was a lot of jiggling around, marking bits up in terms of, okay, well, that needs to be there, because that part of that dictates where the dash is going to be positioned and all of that sort of thing. And so it was a lot of just slightly moving things around and trying to get to a position which I was happy with more than anything. So that took a while, and then it was, big boy pants on and drill some holes to mount it.
I think listen, the body is just bolted on, isn't it? Just bolted onto outriggers off the roller skate.
No. So there's two mount points on the front bar by the radiator, which are inside the bonnet opening, and then there's two at the back of the bonnet opening, which bolt onto brackets on the firewall almost, between the engine and the body. Then there's two brackets at the back where you put like engine mount rubbers, and then the body sits on those. And then the rest, and then once all of that sort of secures the position of the body, and then you basically bend up the sills so the floor pan comes out beyond the end of the chassis rails. You bend it up, and then you secure along that edge between the two. But that helps control the body flex more than that. It's nothing to do with the positioning. The body positioning is controlled by the other mount points. And on the back there's a flat plate, which again you bolt the bottom of the chassis to the rear of the body gets bolted to that. But it's fairly lightweight fixings.
Yes. Yeah. So in theory, if you ever needed to, you could take the body back off again.
Yes,
a bit like a Gardner Douglas.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. Yes, you can. I could still take the body off today. It's quite a lot. Have I taken it off?
You had a problem with the rear diff as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that was post IVA. Yeah, it was post IVA. The LSD
cones,
cones disintegrated, so I had to drop it out. But
That's a simple drop out job. It's not
a simple drop out. You don't have to take anything apart for that, so that's very easy. So yeah, once the body, and then the body position. Once I got it bolted in position, I needed to get the dash position settled as well, because that's where the body sits. You need to obviously, the dash is separate from the body, so it's a separate unit, separate piece of glass fiber molding.
Yeah.
So you then need to secure, make the fixings up for that. So the body has to come off really, whilst you have to lift that off to finalize position, make up the brackets or whatever you're going to use to secure the dash piece in place.
Brilliant.
So there was a lot of, even once I made all the finalized position, it still came off a number of times to sort that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then just trying to think, then the side pieces were relatively straightforward, and the back, it's just a case of initially I made up some bars with riv nuts in them that was going to bolt through from outside, but it became really difficult to line everything up. So in the end, I just went with large washers and nuts and bolts through the side panel with a bit of rubber between the two, and similarly at the back.
Brilliant. I'll ask you about how did you find IVA? Was that traumatic for you or fairly straightforward? Some people dread it, but yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I'd spoken to a couple of other people about the IVA, and they said, the guys are there to help. And
yes.
And you just don't know, because I hadn't built a car before. I didn't know what they were going to be, how much they were going to tear into the car to find it out. But I had no problem. It took me 3 attempts, but that was down to the emissions. I had issues with the emissions, which I'll come on to. Yeah. But the first one, I trailered it there. They went through the car. Everything was fine. There were a few minor mechanical things. I think there was one weeping brake union which just needed tightening up. There was like a split pin missing from a castellated nut. A couple
That's a lot of detail, for them to pick that up. Do you know what I mean?
They were thorough, but they were fair. And I think they certainly they were happy with the quality of the build and the way the car was presented to them. Yeah. Because the booking was it's like a 4-hour slot you get. Yeah. I think I was out of there in 3 hours. So, it went fairly well from that perspective. Obviously it didn't pass, but it was nothing major in the construction of the car that they were unhappy with. It was just little bits and pieces that I needed to attend to.
Yeah. So, I giggle now, but if you look at some of the really, really early kit cars where these kit car manufacturers would pop up, flog you a kit, and then go bankrupt the following month. You know what I mean? You looked at some of the stuff years ago.
Yeah,
they were putting out, and you think, "Oh my god, it wouldn't pass anything." Obviously, kit car manufacturers come a long way since then.
It has come on so much. Yeah. But the main one was the emissions, and I just couldn't get it to pass. So it passed the CO test.
CO2, yeah.
That was fine, and the NO was fine as well. It was the lambda reading, so air in the exhaust reading was too high, which classically is an air leak somewhere.
I was going to say.
It's usually an air leak. So I took it home. I took the exhaust off. I redid all the joints, and I took it to a local MOT station. Still wouldn't pass. And it took me a while, but in the end, I figured out that the ECU, whilst it could see the lambda reading, it was the ECU was using I'd used the stock Mazda O2 sensor, which is just a little narrow band sensor. So all it says is the mixture's rich or the mixture's lean. That's all it ever tells the ECU. So I swapped that out and put in a wideband ECU.
Wideband. Yeah.
And as soon as I plugged that in, you could see the ECU responding much better. You could see the AFR responding, and I took it to a local station, and they said, "Yeah, that's fine," and I took it back, and it passed. So, just live and learn.
Just one
one little thing like that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it worked. So yeah, and then it passed in May this year. And since then, I've taken it to a couple of local club shows, which has been great. Lots of interest in that. I'm doing a few changes now. It's through the IV. I've changed out the Mazda seats and put some alloy bomber seats with some padding in.
I think I've seen those. Yeah, really smart. Yeah, really.
Yeah,
really
I really like the look
really,
of those.
Really period looking. Really period looking.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And then over the winter, I've got some plans. So at the moment, in the boot area, is the Mazda MX-5 fuel tank, which is quite a big tank, but it's also a really odd sort of
shape, isn't it? Yeah,
it's not an odd shape, and it just occupies a lot of boot space. So Rob has got a custom tank that he's developed for the Replica, which is more upright and sits
like a stainless.
Yeah, it's very like a 7 fuel tank, more upright. And that sits in the back. That will sit further back in the boot area. So I'm going to pick up one of those from him, and then redo that, and then that allows me to panel out of the rear of the boot section and make it a usable boot, because at the moment it's just, you can see the floor through it and the subframe and all of that. So that's going to get done. And also the exhaust at the moment is mostly an MX-5 standard exhaust. So in the boot area there is a big, huge silencer box like this long by this wide by this tall, taking up a lot of room and generating a lot of heat in there. So I'm going to get a guy to make up a custom unit with a small silencer on it that just
get a straight through pipe.
I gave that a go in the garage the other week. I took the silencer off, just ran some. No, that's even louder than my TVR. That's just too much.
I bet your neighbours love you now. Yeah.
So yeah, I tried that, and I don't think I'm going to go. It will have it. It needs a small silencer because the pipe I've got is I think it's an aftermarket pipe, and it's got the center pipe. The center silencer has been deleted from that, so it has no silencer in it in the center. It's just got this massive, great big back box on it.
Yeah.
So that's going to go at some point as well, probably before I do the boot, so fairly soon. But I've identified a guy locally who can do it. So
brilliant, yeah. And you say you get to quite a few shows now as well.
Yeah, just local stuff really. There's a local pub breakfast meet I've been to the other week, and then there's a couple of small car groups nearby, and they have like a breakfast meets and that sort of thing, which I've taken it to.
Thank you, Colin, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, subscribe to 7 Spot, and stay tuned, because the next build might just inspire your own.